Well, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar. It's our mini-STEMposium to support teachers in the field. This is the 5th of 18 webinars we are hosting. This session has 205 people registered. My name is Ken Heydrich, and I am the National STEM Manager for Accelerate Learning. I'll be your host today for this incredible afternoon of learning. I've been in K-16 education for over 30 years. Connecting with educators in the field like today is the best part of my day. Thank you for being here. We have lined up some exceptional talent from around the country for these mini-STEMposiums. This week we are offering 6 sessions during the afternoon. This is the second to last. And we will also host 6 sessions during June 16 through 18 and July 14 through 16. The link to the schedule is found in the chat window. Some of our national superstars include Peter McLaren, Roger Bybee, Oki Lee, David Plank, David Crother, Rita McDonald, and Kelly Price Colley. We also have some local trailblazers from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, including Shane Woods, Linda Cook, and Malachi Eubank. In addition, we have also some of our best presenters from Accelerate Learning and STEM Scopes, including today, Angela Campana and Jill Lucero. As you know, these are challenging times. Accelerate Learning and STEM Scopes wants to support our hardworking teachers by offering these sessions of high quality professional learning. Nothing in return. We are just trying to provide some meaningful professional experiences. Free. We are trying to take your mind off the pandemic for a moment. Please note that the participation of our major invited speakers does not necessarily mean an endorsement of products developed by Accelerate Learning. We are in challenging times. The speakers, along with me and my colleagues, are here to provide a rich learning experience so that teachers can take back with them some useful information and strategies to their students. We are all in this together. Before we begin, let me share some procedural aspects to this webinar. As you know, we are using Zoom for this webinar, and it has a number of interactive features. Please look at your sound and video controls found in the bottom left of your screen. Your sound should be muted. Make sure your audio has a red diagonal flag or line through it. If you choose to display video, please be constantly aware of what you are broadcasting. We also recommend that you use the speaker view on your video display found in the top right corner. Let's try one feature now called polling. Let me release a quick poll to see who is with us on this webinar today. You should see on your screen a simple poll. Go ahead and mark what your background is. 10 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Great, thank you. Let me share the results with you. As you can see, we have primarily pre-K through 12 teachers, and the majority go to pre-K through 5 teachers, 44%. And I'm really glad to know that we have some campus and district administrators also. They will help support what our teachers are doing on their campuses. So thank you for participating in that quick poll. Next, let's talk about chat. We will be using the chat feature today for your comments and questions. This window is being monitored by STEM Scope staff, and they will be able to respond accordingly. We will also use a Zoom function called Breakout Rooms. Our presenter will be able to randomly group people into smaller rooms so we can have good discussion. Okay, that's it for the procedures. Today, we are very fortunate to have Angela Campana and Jill Lucero present today. our super talented regional math trainers from STEMscopes. Angela has taught in the classroom for 8 years and has served as the campus science coach before joining the STEMscopes family. And she received her master's degree in curriculum and instruction with an emphasis in educational technology. Jill has taught in the classroom for 9 years and has served as a title math specialist for 3 years before becoming the district elementary math instructional coach for her district. She received her master's degree in curriculum and instruction with an emphasis in science and second language acquisitions. We are very fortunate to have Angela Campana and Jill Lucero with us today. Angela and Jill, take it away.
Thank you, Ken, for the introductions for Angela and I. Just a heads up, we will have interactive components throughout this presentation. So if you would like to go ahead and create a Prism account ahead of time, please follow the link to create an account. Please wait for further instructions, though, on the activity that is found in our Prism. Today, our learning will be to establish the significance of promoting dialogue in the math classroom and how to use the decide and defend mathematical routine and talk moves to advance student learning. To establish why talk is important, we are going to create that account with Prism. Prism is a tool for collaborative interpretations of text. Users are invited to provide an interpretation of a text by highlighting words according to the question posed. Each individual interpretation then contributes to the generation of a visualization which demonstrates the combined interpretation of all the users. We envision Prism as a tool for both pedagogical use and scholarly exploration, revealing patterns that exist in the subjective experience of reading a text. I would like to take a second and show you how to use the highlight features within Prism, and then we will let you interpret the text. Angela will use the link to open a new window. Take note that if you already have an account, you will use the left side of the screen to sign in. If you need to create an account, you will use the right hand of the screen. All you need is an email address and a password. Please do not worry, you will not be receiving any spam or unwanted emails from the educational site. Angela will go ahead and get logged in. The text provided comes from an excerpt from the STEMscopes blog regarding mathematical discourse. On the right-hand side, there is a question posed. In what ways do promoting dialogue through math talks benefit your students? Notice that the highlighter is the same color as the color dot in front of the question. You will use this highlighting tool to interpret the question posed and how it pertains to why talk is important in math. Angela is going to demonstrate how to do that now. Once you are done with all of your highlights, click on the Save Highlights button on the right. To make this easier on all participants to log into Prism, the link has been provided several times at the beginning of this presentation, and it will also be provided in the chat to assist you in accessing the site in a new window. If you have not done so already, create your account and begin creating the highlights on your text at this time. We will allow for 5 minutes for all participants to individually complete this task. Should you have any questions or concerns, please provide them in the chat. Please hang tight.
Hi, Jill and Angela. When they click on the screen, should it show the exact text as yours, valuable skills? And while this may seem mathematical reasoning, I'm just kind of reading down those paragraphs.
So yes, once they log in and sign up for an account with Prism, it will send them to this text.
Okay, so we had a few that said that they're not there yet, but maybe in the chat, if you are able to access the site, let's see if we've had any other participants that are able to see that.
So once you click the Save Highlights button, I do see that in the chat. Once you click the Save Highlights button, hang tight. Angela and I will have to do something on our part of Prism for you to see what it looks like for everyone. So if you have clicked the Saved Highlights button and it looks like the text without the highlights, that's what it's supposed to look like.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Angela, if you want to go ahead and highlight a little more and then click Save Light, yep, then they'll see what it looks like for you.
So once I click on Save Highlights, those will disappear.
In about 30 more seconds, we'll go ahead and continue. So if you have not done so already, whether you're done or not with your highlighting, you can go ahead and click that Save Highlights button just like Angela did. Okay, so let's take a look at the visualization that's generated from our combined interpretation of this text from the STEM Scopes blog. To do that, Angela pressed the font size visualization, and that's going to be on our account since we included this text into Prism. What I want you to know is that the text has actually changed considerably in font. It's a lot like when you do Wordle with your students and you're wanting them to see main ideas or important vocabulary words in sentences or in text that you've provided them. So looking back at the question that we posed, we asked, what are the ways that promoting dialogue in your classroom through Math Talks benefit your students? And right now, I can very easily see our interpretation as a group of participants, what we felt like were the main ideas of that question. So quite a few of us felt that having the opportunity to bounce ideas off of each other is a great opportunity for our students. We also said constructing persuasive arguments, questioning the how and the why behind the methods, verbal communication and mathematical reasoning, being able to think metacognitively. And that's something that Angela and I are going to highlight in this presentation because we are firm believer that having kids reflect on the steps they're taking really supports them metacognitively. We love that this supports them being intentional thinkers. When we provide these talk moments, it lets them do this independently, hopefully when they're adults. Supports conceptual understanding and remembering problem-solving strategies. Okay. I love that it also supports the multiple ways to do things, multiple approaches to do the math. So I want to say thank you for participating in this Prism activity. I apologize if you struggled signing in or signing up, but we are going to move on now to a breakout room to discuss that experience with Prism.
All right, so okay, everyone, I'm going to have Ken create breakout rooms here in a second for everyone within Zoom. This feature is going to randomly group you all together. The purpose of these breakout rooms is for you to be able to share and gain ideas from each other. While in your rooms, we would like you to discuss the following question. In what ways are you promoting dialogue in your math classroom? So this question is also going to be provided in the chat. You will have about 5 minutes to discuss this within your groups, and we'll be jumping into some of your groups. And once we feel like you've had enough time to share, I will be requesting that we close the breakout rooms and rejoin the whole group. So Ken, at this time, if you could please create the groups for us.
Will do, Angela. I'm going to create 18 rooms, and there will be 4 to 5 participants per room. So please, when you get your invite, please go to the room. This will be a very helpful activity. And we'll open all rooms right now.
If you could please put the question in the chat for our participants.
Very good. Most of the people are moving out to the rooms. Jessica, could you post the question in the chat, and I will then copy it, have it sent out to everybody.
Thank you, Maeve. So while in your chat rooms, you are talking about in what ways you are promoting dialogue in your math classroom.
Okay, I'm going to broadcast that out to everybody.
Jill, you're muted.
Thank you. I just unmuted me. Thank you. All right, so welcome back from your breakout room groups. We hope that everyone was able to share how they are currently promoting discourse in their classroom. I know I went into a room and we shared a couple of things.
Yes.
We also hope the time we took in Prism provided access and helped make this collaborative task equitable for all. Now we would like to take a second to reflect on the educational tool that we use to establish why talk is important in math. Please answer the question, how could you apply the use of Prism and its capabilities to your math classroom within the chat feature?
So we definitely have some of them popping up. Jill, lots of great things coming up. One of them said, identifying keywords in a word problem, free response questions. Another person said, you know, it's difficult for kindergarten because they're just beginning to read. So we might have to think about that. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, just another one, and then I'll let you guys kind of talk some more. Place a word problem and have students highlight keywords needed to solve a problem.
So that is one of my favorites because we want to make sure that math problems and math tasks are equitable and even access for all. And doing activities like the one in Prism where you're giving them the word problem. In kindergarten, I agree, we're very picture heavy and representation heavy. But I think in our grade levels where our kids are ready for text, we need to teach them how to annotate the text and how to really inspect the text for the math that they're doing. So I love that. I love how we could integrate literacy and math, helping students identify specific vocabulary. How many times do we have kids doing really great things in literacy in text and they don't transfer it to math? So we know they can infer, we know that they can identify main idea, but when we put it in math form, they struggle. So activities like this can help bridge that transfer between what they're doing in literacy to what they're doing in math.
And Jill and Angela, can you put pictures in the text?
Unfortunately for Prism, it's going to be text only. But there are definitely other activities that you could use to start a conversation with kindergartners. First thing that comes to mind for me is Seesaw. That's what my kiddo uses.
Thank you, Jill.
Of course.
I do like that Kendra had said in kindergarten, you can color code the number words. So that could be something as well.
Oh, that's amazing. What a great idea. And it doesn't have to be just number words. It can be sight words in general.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Love. Guys, what great ideas. So we really hope that Prism is something that you can include in your class, especially since we are probably looking at a hybrid model for learning in the fall, and knowing that this is something that our kids could do remotely and then still see an interpretation of everyone's understanding of a text after the fact. All right, Angela, I think we're ready for Decide and Defend.
All right, everybody. So today we are looking at an activity that has components that really harness math talks. So we are diving deeper into discourse by using Decide and Defend. Decide and Defend is an open-ended assessment that promotes students to reason mathematically and support their ideas with evidence. We have provided you with a 5th grade Decide and Defend on area, perimeter, and volume. I would like to review the use of Padlet before you start this activity. So you will not have to create an account with Padlet. So to review the Decide and Defend, you can click on it to enlarge it, and you'll be able to read this. So our main focus here is not to simply solve a mathematical problem. And that's what I heard in some of our breakout groups. We're not just looking at solving to get the correct answer. You're really looking at the process in which to actually get to that. So the intended purpose is to anticipate the thinking necessary to successfully reason through a problem. Then you will go to each of these questions. We have these 3 here, and add a comment. Now, I do want to point out that our last question right here is not an anticipatory question. We are working towards growing a positive mindset towards mathematics. So mindset is part of that metacognition that Jill was talking about earlier. So we understand that in order for students to recall information and apply it to a new situation, we need to have students stop and reflect on their feelings that they have towards the math tasks that are being provided for them. So now it is going to be your turn to navigate towards Padlet. So the link is going to be provided in the chat for you. Then you have, when you have completed the questions on Padlet, please feel free to read through other comments from other participants. You may need to refresh your screen to make this happen. So then I will go ahead and look at a couple of your comments that you have shared out. So do we have that in the chat box?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful, thank you. So everybody go ahead and navigate your way to Padlet. And I do agree. Thank you, Jessica, for putting that Padlet might be a better opportunity to provide photos as visuals.
You're welcome.
I'm going to go ahead and have this one displayed on my screen. Got some comments coming in. You guys have a lot of great responses coming in. Guys got so many great responses. I love how this is in real time and everybody can actually read each other's comments and posts, because that's a great way for everybody to see what others are thinking on the same topic. So we'll give you another minute or two to look through everything. Please feel free to read through others' comments and see if you have some like-minded individuals with you. right. I think there's a lull, so we'll go ahead and move on a little bit. So I was noticing that a lot of you are giving that overarching concept in math, perimeter, cubic space, area, and maybe even some of those quantities. So it is important to have those discussions with your students, that when they are discussing quantities, that they do have to give units. And I know in the breakout room that I was in, we actually had that discussion with what was happening in a first grade classroom. So it's great that they're learning it from that little, that they have to attach that that concept with the quantity. So, and then moving on, I noticed that you're re-emphasizing the question on this second one, on question 2, on question 3. So this question is important to ask because our students need to realize that sometimes some math tasks don't have extra information and some do. So it's okay for students to decide if there is no extra information. And then of course, this last question, we want our students to feel prepared to work on a math task independently. So we hope that these questions provide an opportunity for students to see the discussion of others and support them feeling comfortable working independently on a math task that requires them to reason mathematically and support their ideas with evidence. So some of you might have felt a little bit more at ease when you saw someone that had the same math mindset as you. So that was pretty amazing for you guys to share out like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to our Padlet. So welcome back from Padlet. We have, we're gonna move on here. So we hope that the time we took sharing Decide and Defend was beneficial for you. We would like to take a second and reflect on the educational tool that was used to reason mathematically and support ideas with that evidence. So please answer the following question. How could you apply the use of Decide and Defend and or Padlet in your math classroom? Go ahead and use that chat feature. Padlet is an amazing tool.
And I love that Jessica brought up earlier what Prism cannot do, Padlet can.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure that you had access to multiple website educational tools that can support you as we dive into our hybrid models in the fall.
Absolutely. Oh, I like that idea, Heather, to begin the units, jump off. Yes. Mm-hmm. Alyssa, I do believe that so we're facing more of an e-learning situation. So this definitely would be something that you could possibly use. Great for a unit closure. Very nice. Oh, Lori, that's great to hear that your students are already using that and like it. Mm-hmm. Ooh, exit tickets are perfect for sure.
I love it. Exit tickety. That's a word I would use.
I do, Paris, I agree with that because you can be listed as anonymous. So that may reduce that anxiety and discomfort that some students might feel instead of them having to verbalize in front of everybody, for sure.
I love the distance learning conversation simulation. I love that because honestly, those 3 questions that we gave you, those are the questions we want kids to ask themselves in their heads.
Absolutely.
So talking about metacognition, those are the 3 questions when they tackle a word problem or a math task. Those are the questions we want them asking themselves and answering independently. Unfortunately, some of our students cannot do that independently, so we have to model that. So that's what I love about doing these Prism and Padlet activities and just using those same 3 questions over and over. And pretty soon your kids will adopt those questions internally and you don't have to do it anymore.
That's what we're hoping for. All right, you guys had some amazing responses. Thank you for that. And Jill is going to go ahead and take it over for this next part.
All right, so Talk Science, the Inquiry Project, is a free professional development provided through collaboration between the National Science Foundation and Turk. The PD is a blend of web-based study and opportunities to try ideas in the classroom. It is designed to help teachers increase the effectiveness of classroom science discussions. In the program, participants deepen their understanding of important science concepts, develop a vision of the role of discussion in science meaning making, and develop 9 strategies that support productive discussions. A rich collection of video cases aligned with the inquiry curriculum provide just-in-time contextualized support. So if you look at the Goals for Productive Discussions PDF, the goals and the respective talk moves on this document are the same productive discussion goals we would hope to see in our math classrooms. I would like us to go to the Talk Science site where I can highlight where to find this PDF and also many other resources. So a link to the Productive Discussions and 9 Talk Moves PDF will be located in the chat. You can also access the link to the PDF as well as the research literature on the Inquiry Project at the bottom of this site, and Angela is showing that now. Angela and I also want to take the time to highlight the instructional videos that are provided for the 4 productive discussion goals that are relevant to both science and math. I would like to take some time to share the overview video, which will give a quick summary of the project and a clear understanding of the goals and talk moves that are associated with productive discussions.
Many teachers find it challenging to hold classroom discussions that are academically productive. All too often, we find ourselves going back to the traditional form of teaching, recitation. The teacher asks a question, and students attempt to provide the right answer. There's no discussion, and not much talk about the reasoning that led to the answer. Teachers who are able to orchestrate productive discussions consistently are usually skilled at getting 4 different things to happen. First, they are able to help all the students to share, expand, and clarify their reasoning out loud to the whole group. If only a few students share their reasoning, you don't have a discussion, you have a monologue, or at best, a dialogue. Second, they are able to help students learn to listen carefully to one another. They support students' efforts to really understand what their classmates are saying. Third, these teachers are able to get students to dig deeper into their reasoning. They don't let students stop with superficial answers. They keep the focus on deepening the thinking with data or evidence around core scientific concepts. And fourth, these teachers are able to get students to think with others, to really work with the ideas of their classmates. Their students don't stop with just giving their own ideas. They consider and take up the thoughts and ideas of others. None of these 4 steps are easy. There can be many different challenges. Some students don't feel comfortable sharing their thinking at first. They may not be used to listening carefully to what other students say. There is often a lack of clarity in what students say and think. But these teachers have found ways to make it happen consistently, and their students benefit from this productive talk. Over time, by participating in discussions, their students become more powerful reasoners. They get better at explaining their ideas, and they become better science learners. So how do these teachers manage to create productive discussions? Researchers have found that teachers who are skillful at this draw on a toolkit of strategies. Collectively, we refer to these strategies as productive talk moves. They are simple questions and statements that help students to participate in the 4 steps we just described. Some talk moves help students share, expand, and clarify their reasoning. These are moves such as the say more move, revoicing. So let me see if I've got your thinking right. Are you saying that? And wait time.
Julia? Like things that belong to the earth and like the nature around us.
What do you mean that they belong to the earth? Can you kind of explain that a little bit more?
When I said they belong to the earth.
Okay, well, what I heard Kyla say was actually a little bit different than what I heard Alicia say. So, Kyla, you're saying that if I have 3 cups, I need to put the same volume in each cup? And Alicia, if I listened to you correctly, were you saying that you need to pour different amounts into the cups?
So like you have 3 different cups and then you put A in one cup, put B in a different cup, and you see in the cups and see if they have the same.
In the clip you just watched, the teacher didn't simply repeat what Kyla and Alicia had said. She checked back to see if she had fully understood. This revoicing move isn't simple repetition, because the teacher is asking if she heard right. This allows the students to clarify their ideas so that everyone can build on their thoughts. Other talk moves help students focus on listening to what others are saying and to take responsibility for trying to understand. Who can put that into their own words? Who understood and thinks they can repeat that idea? Other talk moves help the teacher make sure that the focus stays on digging deeper into student reasoning. Why do you think that? Where do you see evidence in the data? And some talk moves actually encourage students to engage with one another's thinking and reasoning. Do you agree or disagree, and why? Who can add on to the idea that Keisha is building? What do you think of her idea? This toolkit of talk moves helps you open up the conversation so that students do the heavy lifting. The talk moves can help you support your students to clarify and formulate their own ideas, so that students get to hear lots of competing ideas, even ideas that may turn out in the end not to be correct. When students discuss an incorrect idea, it often leads to a deeper understanding of the science concept. Teachers who use these moves effectively find that all students, even English language learners and those who have struggled in the past, make significant gains in learning and conceptual understanding, gains that show up in student writing as well as on standardized tests. This introduction to talk moves is followed by 4 segments that contain video clips of teachers using these talk moves in action. Each segment in this talking point focuses on one goal of productive student talk and illustrates several talk moves that support this goal. Using classroom examples, we provide tips and suggestions for using these talk moves effectively. There is also a print companion text. In addition, you can print out a table of 9 productive talk moves that you can use in reflecting on your own discussions and those of your collaborating colleagues. In the context of a rich task where teachers understand the science concepts well, talk moves are tools that encourage students to share, expand, and clarify their own ideas, listen carefully to one another, dig deeper into their reasoning, and think with others.
All right, so we hope that this video has further shed some light on the science behind productive discussion. We hope that this site can be of use to you and your colleagues to promote discourse in all the math classrooms on your campus. The link to this free professional development site is going to be posted in the chat. We know that we have been moving a lot throughout this session, and at this point, you may be a bit hangry. We have traveled from Prism to breakout rooms, multiple chat sessions, Padlet, and the Talk Science Inquiry Project. Angela and I would like you to reflect on everything that we have discussed about promoting discourse in your math classroom. On this slide, you will see multiple candy bars. Each candy bar has a sentence stem. Take a moment to identify which candy bar sentence stem resonates with your learning today. We would love to experience your reflections in the chat. We would love to see some of these candy bar sentence stems as reflections in the chat. So thank you for being vulnerable, because that butterfinger is admitting your fears. I love that. So yes, the technological divide. Oh, I love that as you were doing these activities with us, you were already thinking about how you could use it with your students.
Yes, absolutely.
I love every time I go to a training, I think about, oh, I wish they were with me, because you know your team teachers. I know we have some administrators. You probably have fellow administrators that you collaborate with and you wish they were here to see it too. That's one of my favorite sentence stems.
Heather, I agree with that. Say more. It's very powerful to just let them talk just that little bit more and really clarify their thinking.
And that's definitely why we wanted to share that talk science, because all of that research was based on science instruction, but we can all agree that that is very much so relevant in math. And there were so many times when I first started teaching that I was carrying that PDF with me around the room to make sure I was asking those questions. It just kept me intentional.
Clarify their thinking. Yes, that decide and defend piece.
Danielle, I love chocolate and caramel too, with a little bit of coconut. I love that you enjoyed the anonymousness that Padlet provides.
It's that anonymity is really beneficial.
I think you just sounded like a character from Little
I
Mermaid.
know.
Kristen, that is a big task, because you want them to understand that someone's idea, they can take it and run with it, but they don't get to copy it. That's not allowed.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for all of you to respond with that. And for, oh, we still got a couple coming in.
Yeah, I want to give it a little more time.
I will. Wait time. I'm practicing wait time. I mean a lot.
Catherine, the rules on responding, if you look up Number Talks, there's a great tool and even some PDFs that you can print out for your room, but it gives the kids nonverbal hand signals to let you know that they are ready to respond because they have an answer or they have an idea that they want to share. But that's a great way to start for rules of responding. Because once your kids know how to talk, then you got to train them when to talk.
Love Number Talks, yes. All right, well, you think we're ready?
She said, is there a link or should we just search?
I would search Number Talks.
Yeah.
There's been several books written with that title. But if you want to specifically look for the PDF with the hand signals, I would just search Number Talks hand signals. And I have a feeling if you just looked under Google Images, you would see a lot of posters that teachers have already created.
For instance, like the thumbs up and the thumbs down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's, yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for participating in our first Math Mini-STEMposium webinar with Jill and I. Jill and I are really looking forward to seeing how you guys are going to use some of those educational tools in your classroom. So here is our contact information. And Ken will now close us out for our mini symposium.
Thank you, Angela and Jill. That was wonderful. You shared a lot of relevant insights about engaging students in meaningful dialogue. Also, your use of Prism and Padlet in the classroom will help student understanding. Wow, they were great tools to share. To follow up, we will now post a link to a certificate of participation into the chat window. You must click on the link so that you can download the certificate. In the past, we've used a PDF. Starting today, we're using a link to a Google Drive that has the certificate of participation. So click on that link, it will take you to the certificate. We will also post a short 5-question survey about this webinar. So this webinar has been recorded and it will be available within 2 days on the STEMposium website. That is mini-STEMposium.com website. It'll be released in 48 hours. A follow-up email from me will have a link to the handout from today's webinar. Please remember that we have one additional webinar this week at 3:30 on misconceptions in science, and a set of 6 seminars in June and 6 seminars in July. You're all welcome to go online and register for those. On behalf of Accelerate Learning and STEM Scopes, we appreciate you taking time to participate in these learning experiences. Thank you and be safe.